This is the Marketing Agency Power Hour, and I'm your host, Cal Wilder. Each week, we'll power through discussions on business challenges, success stories, and game-changing strategies. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, provider of bookkeeping and accounting for marketing agencies. Let's get started. So today's guest is someone I'm thrilled to be speaking with. He's a multi-industry operator. He's a digital marketing strategist, a performance expert, an entrepreneur, and a volunteer. He's a previous board member of the American Marketing Association. He's built and scaled brands across industries and specializes in turning marketing systems into predictable growth engines. He's a member of the Next Level peer group in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's the founder and managing principal at HBT Digital Consulting. RJ Hubert, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me.
You're sporting the Steel City hat. I love it.
Got to represent Pittsburgh any moment of the day.
So what is the single most powerful strategy for success in your firm these days?
You know what? I'll tell you what, it's partnerships. The partnerships that I make with other agency owners, with other business owners, people that can refer each other business, those are by far and away the best, most fruitful thing that I'm a part of.
And so how do you go about, because there's a lot of firms out there, how do you go about kind of finding the ones for you that make the best partners?
It's getting to know that person and that operator first before knowing that if their business is right. So I'll just give a shout out to two quick people. Jeff Barton over at Oyster Creative. They do beautiful websites, but they don't really do paid ads like I do or lead gen. So that's a great partnership. We work together. We refer each other clients. We work on mutual clients. Another one, Gina Gregorek, shout out to Gina. She's a marketing strategist, but she's like at the highest level. So she goes into tech companies, gives a marketing strategy, and then says, hey, you need paid ads or lead support? I know this guy. And then she refers them to me. So like things like that, are far and away like, great stuff.
And when you do lead gen, you mentioned doing paid ads. How kind of deep into the sales funnel do you go?
Well, so specifically, and I'll give two client examples. Chapman HVAC, they're in Missouri. They do plumbing, heating, and cooling. But when your plumbing has a drastic issue, right? Your lines are clogged, or your radiator goes out, or your air conditioning blows up in the summer. People are going to Google and they're searching, need to get my AC replaced. That's a pretty hot lead. Like they need that problem resolved today. And that's a quick lead to sale conversion for that company. When I work with law firms, specifically Quattrini, who they focus on workers' comp here in Western Pennsylvania, that is a longer kind of cycle. We do a lot of ads for them, local services ads. We're doing Bing, Meta, Google, and I mean they're just dominating right now. But we really own the lead gen ads part of it. And then once that lead goes to that team, their internal sales team will convert. Now we have tools along the way that can help nurture and help kind of close that gap. And we use high level CRM and nurturing. So when that lead comes in, we could follow up with appointment reminders, some key information, just staying top of mind with that prospect to help make that eventual sale easier.
Cool. Yeah, I know a gentleman in my neck of the woods here in Massachusetts that for a while had a focus on home services, and he would have this challenge where they generate the leads, but then they'd get handed off to the client's internal team, and then it just kind of died. There wasn't follow-up, or it was delayed, or there was one follow-up, but not multiple follow-ups. And it just he had this challenge. He was generating what he thought was valuable leads, but the conversion rate was too low. And so he got even deeper into the sales process to kind of make the initial outreach more consistent and timely, and then handed it off.
There are just so many considerations aside from what does that business owner want and need. Like I would argue that most plumbing HVAC companies, they need, leads in business, but if they don't have the trucks or the estimator to go get a quote or check out the job or close a deal, right? That lead will probably die and they won't get that business. So there's so many factors that play into like that successful sale that are really out of our hands, right? Well, we can't control the number of trucks, the number of people that can quote a job.
That's true. That's true. And so what are your goals and dreams for your own firm over the next few years? What are you trying to accomplish by owning your firm?
So we are an admittedly small agency, right? So it's just me and I have another individual and then contractors as I need them. So ideally, perfect world, the next 3-5 years, we're firing on all cylinders with like probably 5 employees, an account coordinator, an ad specialist, ops, me, maybe another salesperson. But I want to be lean and mean. Like I do not want a 20, 50, 100 person agency. That just, it's not what I want in my goal. Like I want to work hands-on with the team, really try to understand and know the clients. I don't want our clients to be one of 100, get passed around to different teammates and go to junior people. Like I want our clients to work with high-level strategists the whole way.
Cool. And so what are some of the challenges you faced so far that you've had to overcome or you're currently grappling with?
Oh man, there challenges every day, everywhere. The I've had, we've churn, not every client stays forever. I had, one person said the day that client signs is the day they start leaving. But thankfully I've had some clients over 4 years out of the, 6 years we've been in business, about 4 years for some clients. Some clients, they don't get that instantaneous result that they want, even though we preface, hey, this is probably going to take at least 3 months to we really understand if our ads and campaigns are really dialed in. But some people will leave after 3 weeks. Like that's when you have a small business owner, like a team of one, where every dollar counts and you don't see that instantaneous result, you get flustered. You start questioning things. And sometimes people ditch the process. It's a process, right, of launching and building something sustainable and predictable. And if they don't see instantaneous results, they can churn. I don't know if you see that in your business. I know it's a little bit different. You're not a agency, but is there churn?
Oh yeah, there's definitely churn, and it's a big issue because it really impacts how quickly you can grow the business and how large a business you can become based on your average client lifespan, right? And I remember the early years at SmartBooks, my day job when I'm not doing this podcast. We do accounting and bookkeeping and tax and CFO services. And in the early years, we were not that selective about who we took on as clients. I used to have a salesperson or a sales team, and they weren't really that selective in who they took on as clients sometimes. And so we'd have, misaligned expectations from the beginning, or we were just trying to do too many things for too many different people. So we certainly struggle with some churn at different points in our history. I think since we've really refocused the business several years ago, and I'm doing most of the closing of new business myself these days. We're more focused, and our retention rate has been awesome the last few years. But it's definitely something you struggle with, and it's something we are paranoid about because in a small business, you lose you lose a few percentage of your clients. Can be a big deal.
Absolutely. And in the agency world, there's kind of like a standard. They say, you want about shoot for 3% churn of your clients. And sometimes it could be more or less, hopefully. But that's kind of the standard. And me personally, when I'm looking at my like client roster and the average revenue per client, perfect world, I would like every client to be under 15% each. But so, even 10% really in my heart, like I want each client at least like 10% or lower. But it's not quite there yet. Like, you have some of the big dogs that are a big percentage of your budget. I'm sure that's common in every business. I'm sure you have 1 or 2 clients that just kind of really dominate, but it's just kind of trying to spread that percentage over all of the clients.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, I don't have that problem. There was a point maybe a decade ago when I did. I've been doing this 15, 16 years, and we took on some big clients where the revenue was nice, but it really turned into kind of a 12 or 18-month project rather than a long-term client relationship, right? We came in, big problems, we solved them, but then a year later, the client's questioning why are they still paying a premium to smart quotes when they could hire, somebody less expensive to come in and just kind of take over what we put in place for them. So we really kind of refocused. So I don't think I've got anybody who's more than, you know, 3 or 4% of my annual revenue, which is, we still have to keep an eye on churn, but there's no single client that's going to kill us if they leave.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
But yeah, you'll get there. I mean, it's all about, building out the business to get to that point. Because in the early years, if you've got 10 clients, by definition, they each equal on average 10% of your revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? A funny, like, I have to be careful in my business because what we're the best at, we are the best at running paid ads for lead gen. But you could hire people like me. You can hire that internally, right? And then you're paying that high salary and benefits and payroll taxes and everything that comes along with having an employee. So I have to be very careful about kind of where I price my services because that actually happened to me where we were doing a percentage of ad spend along with a management fee, and that we were spending about, I think, $80,000 on Google Ads a couple months in a row. And this one guy was like, "Look, I want to be straight up with you. We could hire somebody internally for what we're paying you, and they're going to be here 40 hours a week, working on the account." So like, that's a delicate dance that I have to work around. I don't know if you have to give consideration to that.
Yeah, we don't get paid a percentage of client spend, so we don't have that exact problem. But certainly for clients that are growing and we've been with them for some number of years and they're, growing quickly, they do get to a point where, the accounting needs get more complicated and we start to approach the cost of a full-time employee. I mean, I'd still argue that we're less expensive than the fully loaded cost when you include tax and benefits and recruiting and management and replacement when somebody leaves or doesn't work out. So I'd still have that argument. But once we start to look like we're approaching the cost of a salary of a full-time person, yeah, clients, they naturally think, maybe I should just hire a full-time person because then I'm going to get them dedicated to me 40 hours a week and I don't have to share them with anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So we're talking a little bit about finances here. So let me ask you a question about how do you go about managing, the accounting and the financial reporting and everything at your business?
So I work with a local team here. They're called Wilkie and Associates, and so I would say, I'm in QuickBooks, so they're consolidating and at the end of the month all my accounts, my chart of accounts, and then they're helping with all the federal, state, and local taxes and quarterly returns. And Pennsylvania is real strange. We have these local taxes that can't be submitted via QuickBooks, so they're doing paper and then to send it to me, and then I have to mail it in, and it's a hassle, but they take care of it. And what I appreciate with them is something totally unrelated. And then they started handling my personal taxes too, on top of business. So they take care of everything, which is great. But then I'm doing my tuition planning and assistance for my daughters because they go to private school, and now's the time for that. And so I had to make sure I had my numbers correct. So I hit them up with like a last minute question, like, "Hey, this form's due today. Can you help me out?" And they're so responsive, and like, they don't get angry or upset that I'm hitting up the last day, but like, they'll give me some numbers that I need to justify what I'm asking for. So they're a partner, they're not just take in and then input and that's it. Like they're working with me. They're trying to develop relationships. They want to think long-term about the business and where it's heading. And that's great.
Well, that's exactly what you want in an accounting firm partner. That's how we try to operate too. Because frankly, tax returns are a commodity these days. It's the responsive service, the, dealing with those requests for financial aid form assistance, the, helping you save money on taxes over the course of the year by implementing strategies. It's, gone are the days when I think people just are happy if their CPA files their taxes for them at the end of the year. I think people expect more from that.
Hey, let me just ask you a random question about that. So traditionally, if I want to look at, my profit and loss, right? Everything isn't kept up to date until like maybe 2 weeks after the end of the month. So if I want to look at the January's numbers, everything isn't tightly wrapped up in a bow until mid-February. And is that common, or should I be seeing like real-time results in January? So when I run that profit and loss, I really understand what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of business owners like the idea of real time, um, but there are a lot of challenges with real time. So most of the time, like you're doing well if you're getting financial statements by the 15th of the following month. I mean, a lot of the clients we take on, they're lucky if they get them within 30 days or something like that. So we can at least, cut it in half for them. But at the same time, do you invoice your customers every day? You have real time revenue? Do you have payroll? Like, do you have, like, daily payroll costs? Do you get subcontractor costs every day? It's just there's a lot of things that don't happen on a daily, frequency, and so if payroll's twice a month and you have some contractors that bill you at the end of the month and you invoice your customers at the end of the month based on their spend during the previous month, like, I think real time closing of the books is unrealistic. However, what is very realistic though is having kind of an operating budget where you know what your monthly costs are. Um, you kind of know what your resale margin is if you're reselling third party media. So you have an outline, a framework for a monthly budget. You know what your fixed costs are. You know if you're running a big campaign, you may get some extra resale margin from third party media, but you kind of know you can know very quickly at the end of the month. Once you know what your revenue is, you can pretty accurately predict your profit, plus or minus 10 or 20%. Because you know what your costs are. So having that operating model is really key because you won't know with 100% precision what your P&L looks like. But if you know what your revenue is and you know what your operating cost structure is, you can get it relatively close. And then you can get confirmation a couple weeks later.
Okay, makes sense.
Cool. So you're in an exciting phase right now where you're really building out the business. Is there anything in particular that really excites you about the future?
Yeah. I mean, obviously AI. And it's going to disrupt us in certain ways, but also enhance. And what I'm a daily AI user, and I'm switching between Claude to Lovable to Gemini to Grok. And I'm not just going to name all of them just for naming them. I'm just testing them and trying new things. And what I really appreciate is the speed now to really start ideating and developing on what I want, what I need. And specifically, what I'm using that for is like understanding creative copy for certain products or services for a specific audience, and then building a mock-up of a landing page of like a wireframe of what it looks like, and then seeing a visual mock-up. And I can do this all within minutes to hours. And I'm not even a designer. I'm not even like somebody who can really scope that out. And now I can actually get a great mock-up. And if I want to send that to a designer, I can. But just the speed of just doing it before, like, if I wanted to build a new landing page to a new audience with completely new messaging with a new offer, as a small business owner, that would take me forever and long time. So like, I'm just appreciating the tools now. I'm not really nervous about getting phased out because I think clients will still want that partner. Clients aren't going to want to do this themselves, honestly. They're too busy running their business, running the payroll, working with their clients, working with their employees. Like there's still going to be those clients that just want that partners just to take care of it, get it done. That's what my accountant does. That's what my tax firm does. I just want them to get it done right. All right. I'm sure I can, if I needed to, I could throw my, financial stats in a thing, but, and get some information, but I'd rather work with somebody.
Do you think there's risk of pricing compression if everybody's using AI to be more faster and more productive? They're going to start competing on price more.
I think if you're charging hourly, on your service, I personally don't do that. We charge a flat management fee per month based on the number of marketing channels you're on, your ad spend, and number of campaigns. So like, if you're under 5,000 on ads in one marketing channel like Google Ads, it's going to be about $2,500. And then if we add services or add CRM, depending, it can increase from there. But AI right now, you can't just go into Google Ads and have AI build and run and optimize your account. You just can't. They have campaign types that you can enter basic information and they launch, but they're not great and they return kind of crappy leads and clicks. So I don't know. What are you seeing for your industry?
Yeah, I mean, in my industry, there's been a lot of hype in my industry for 10 plus years now that AI was going to replace individual bookkeepers and accountants. And we've had probably a dozen venture-backed startups go out and raise hundreds of millions of dollars combined, if not $1 billion or more combined, to supposedly automate away bookkeeping and accounting for the small to mid-sized business space. And almost all those firms have gone bankrupt. One just abruptly stopped operations within the past week. And so it's a lot harder than people think. But on the margin, things are definitely getting more automated. Reading of vendor bills and kind of extracting the information and posting it. I mean, you can debate whether that's AI or just optical character recognition and pattern learning or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's automation with some level of AI on the margin. And now you can, like you said, you can upload your financial statements to AI and have it spit back an analysis. But AI doesn't really know what's really important to you and what are the top metrics. And for a marketing agency, what really matters to you and at your stage of your agency. Like you'd have to do a ton of training to an AI model to get it to spit back something that's most relevant to you. And so, yeah, it's definitely a risk. And we're using it similarly. We can get things done a little bit faster. And there's certain projects where instead of having to go to different state websites and research things, we can just ask AI and it will scan and report back to us. So we find it as a nice tool, but I'm nervous about it. But at the same time, if you have that relationship with the client and you understand what their dreams and goals and needs are, and you can prioritize reporting and customize reporting to exactly what they need, that's a lot more valuable than what AI can do.
I think the other benefits are like maybe you don't need to hire that second, third, fourth person who are so specialized. Maybe you can hire maybe a more generalist for maybe a lesser salary and then give them all the tools they need. And then maybe they can figure it out. But also this stuff has been around for a while and things that quote unquote make marketing easier, like Canva for design or these CRM tools. And guess what? Clients still need us. They still hire us, especially for HBT Digital. Our business has grown every single year over the past 6 years. The revenue has grown every single year and all these tools still exist. So I, I'm not so nervous for the short term, the 1 to 2 to 3 years. I think everything's going to speed up as they say, but after 3 years, I don't know. We might all be working in the fields or be plumbers. I don't really know, but
Yeah. I would be nervous about turning my marketing ad budget over to AI because what happens if it makes a mistake and then I run away and blow all my budget on something dumb that AI decided to do that I didn't have any control over. Kind of like self-driving cars. Maybe one day, but I'm not going to be turning my life over to a self-driving car anytime soon.
yeah, I hear you.
Cool. So when you were little RJ, did you think you'd be running your own business one day?
Little RJ. I'm watching Terminator 2. I'm seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm seeing this kid on this dirt bike in Terminator 2 running around, stealing money out of ATMs, riding in the back of Harleys. Like, I wanted to be an actor back in the day. And I did some plays in high school, but you know, I tell you, so this is how the world has changed. Just, I'm 43. But when I was growing up, my dad was military, reservist and a police officer. And he always pushed me, hey, go work for the government. You're always going to have a job. It's going to be safe. Always. You'll always have your job no matter what happens. And so that was kind of like the dream was like, hey, maybe I can go to the FBI because my dad kind of had this police SWAT team, military background. So I thought I was going to go be a border patrol agent as my stepping stone to the FBI, and I'd be this tatted guy driving around in trucks, talking to Latinas in the Mexican border. But then life has another way, right? I didn't make it to the border patrol because I lived outside of the U.S. for over 3 years after 9/11, and I think that kind of dinged me. And then went to grad school, and then I thought I was gonna be a professor and get that tenured life. So like that was, speaking of decades ago, work forever in corporate, work forever tenured as a campus professor. So that was always on my mind.
And so what were the milestones that caught along the way that it ultimately ended up in you starting your own business?
So I was working at an ad agency, and then I worked in corporate marketing, and that's where I learned all about lead gen, all about online advertising, about tracking leads, knowing what lead source they came from, knowing the cost per lead, cost per conversion. But then I built something on the side because I was hungry. I was in grad school doing some advertising classes, and my best friend and I, we were like, we're learning all this all this stuff, book smart stuff, all this knowledge. Can I apply it in the real world? Could I build something from the ground up? And it was like a challenge. I was not an entrepreneur at this point. I had my day job, my safety net, and I was into running. And I was like, I wonder if I could create a brand or make some side income. So Claire and I, we started the Great Mother's Day race in 2010, and it was a 5K in Tampa, Florida. So we started with one 5K race, the annual family 5K tradition. So my thinking was, hey, on Mother's Day, everyone just goes to brunch, they get flowers, and then they forget about it. It's boring. It's the same thing every year. Could they do an athletic event with the family that challenges each other? Every year they come back to get the medal and the t-shirt and improve their times. So I thought there was some stickiness to it. And we killed it. We killed it with that. So we averaged probably 700 people in Tampa per race. And then we went to Sarasota to do it. And then we started the Father's Day race. And then we started the Great Gay 5K. My race partner was heavy in that community. And we did it for 10 years. But I don't know if you know anything about the event business, but it is a pain in the ass. And so you wouldn't believe, I was just asking as the race director for volunteers and help. Please help me, Cal. Come to my race on Mother's Day. I know it's Mother's Day, Cal. Come at 6 a.m., set up, carry all these t-shirts and bananas and hand out water, please, and do it for free. And maybe we'll give you some snacks, but please. And so we had to recruit all the time. And it was just like, it was so hard. It was so hard. And I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah. It's funny. SmartBooks worked with Dave McGillivray's race management business for about 10 years or so. He's the longtime race director for the Boston Marathon. So they had some higher profile events where they could more easily, I guess, recruit some volunteers, and they could afford to have some paid staff. But those races are a big deal to put on. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot of effort. But what's crazy? Your whole event, it was over in 3 hours. You'd be there at 6 setting up. The race is at 8. It's only a 5K. So you're breaking down at 9:30. You're out of there at 10 and you're done. After that, it's like, hey, you throw up some pictures, post the results. And so in some regards, it's cool, but it's just, it was a hard run.
You got to coordinate though with like local police and everything, and
get the permits, police, promotion. But that's where I really learned promoting and getting somebody to pay for something that I put on my brand, my activity. So that was cool. And so I knew I could make a buck myself. And that's kind of what's kicked off this entrepreneurial journey. So I was still a corporate guy making money on the side. And so I get to Pittsburgh and I'm building this other guy's business. It was a market research firm. He launches a market research facility, brand new. And I'm the guy doing all the marketing and sales, and I'm building his business. And I still had some clients on the side from other random things. And then it got to a point where I could maybe go out on my own. People were requesting ads help and website help and social media help and email help. And I had clients on the side, and I thought, hey, in 2019, if I'm ever going to take this jump, I wasn't married at the time, no kids at the time. My wife I wasn't married, but my soon to be wife had a great job. So like I wasn't gonna be destitute if this didn't work in the 3, 5 months or even a year. Like I had some time to figure it all out. And I think not having kids helped. Like, I don't know if you have kids, but like kids hit my family in 21 and 23. And I definitely had to step back from all my business owner journey. Cause like obviously when you have kids, it's just insane. For those that don't have kids, it's a totally different world.
Yeah, I've got twin boys who were born in 2011, which was 2 years into SmartBooks. And so you had your first kid, sounds like, kind of 2 years into your business.
It was a very big learning curve for me and the family and running a small business and commitments. And I'm out of that tunnel now. Like I'm my youngest is about 2.5 now. So like we're out of that phase, the baby phase. So like that's great. So now it's like I'm on full growth mode for my agency. Like my pipeline is full for what our capacity is internally. Like it's looking pretty good here the first, half of the year. Um, and I'm just putting in the steps to like really turn this into something great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm curious where you lived for those 3 years outside the US.
I was in London. I was in and then Spain for almost 2. So London. So here's the thing. I was in college, right? University of Pittsburgh. It's the summer of my sophomore year. My best friend studies abroad. I hadn't even thought about London. I hadn't even thought about England or even overseas. I'm this small time kid from Erie. My dad's a cop. My mom's a nurse. I didn't think about world travels in 2002. There's no Instagram. There's not that life. But my buddy's over there, my best friend Gunnar, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing this summer?" I'm like, "I'm going to work at a call center in Erie." And he's like, "Hey, get this work visa for students. Come over here. I'll find the place. I'm already over here. And you can get a job really easily." And so I did that, and I lived abroad for a summer and traveled and worked in a clothing store. And then I get back my junior year and I study abroad, spring semester into the summer in Spain and Sevilla. And then after I graduated college, I went back for a whole year to teach English in a Spanish high school. And so I really wanted to like master Spanish. And this goes back to my border patrol fantasy. I wanted to be a master Spanish speaker to get into the border patrol to make my way into the FBI.
Yeah, yeah. Funny, I took up Spanish when I was a freshman in college because at the time I was planning to be a doctor. And I'm like, well, growing Hispanic population in the US, it would probably be really helpful if I knew how to speak Spanish. But of course, I didn't end up going to med school, but that was the idea.
I still love the journey though of learning Spanish. Like I was pretty good at Spanish, into 2006 after I lived there for a year. Like I was thinking and dreaming in Spanish and I could really speak it. But after, I guess almost 20 years now, it's like I lost a lot of that.
Yeah, I did 5 months in Chile in the fall of 1997, which was awesome. But yeah, that's probably the last time I really used Spanish.
Yeah. That was fun. Even considering going abroad to Spain, and I'm sure you for Chile, I was looking at all the different Latino locations that I could possibly study in. And Europe really had caught my eye because I had been to London previously, and I really appreciated the European history and ability to travel to so many unique places. And I think you could get that in Chile, obviously, but I wanted to go. I think the European route.
Makes sense. Cool. So, if you could go back in time several years to when you first started the firm and give yourself some advice, what would you tell yourself?
It's a long road. Success does not come easy. When we launched, I think you even mentioned it briefly. When we launched, we did, I'll say, any marketing thing for anybody. You need a website, we'll do it. You need email marketing, we'll do it. You need social media help, we'll do it. You need ads help, we'll do it. But if you want to be great at any one thing, and what we're great at is running ads for lead gen. You really have to narrow and focus. So about year 2 to year 3, we kind of stopped really doing all the other peripheral stuff that we weren't great at. We found those awesome partners that we talked about earlier. And now we could shift that website to a company. Or if we need strategy, we shift that to a company. Or social media, we shift that to a company. And they return the favor. So like I would say try to specialize. I know it's hard when you're first starting because you need that income by any means possible. But I would just really understand it takes longer. Like social media, you see quote unquote success everywhere or it's so easy. I haven't found it to be easy. I've found it, a lot of it's luck, a lot of it's hard work, a lot of it is serendipity. But in general, like I'm a pretty lucky guy, but I make myself lucky. I put myself in situations, I raise my hand, I ask, and that contributes to a lot of it.
Yeah, what do they say? Luck comes to those who are prepared.
Yeah. What about you? What would you tell yourself?
Something similar to what you said, right? I probably would have been a little, a little more disciplined with staying focused because, these opportunities to grow and, I had pretty big ambitions. I was planning to, you know, trying to go from, my wife and I started the business to, 10 people to 20 people to 50 people, 100 people, and really try to go for it because I had some success with a previous business, a couple partners. We grew to like 60 people and sold it to a public company. So I'd kind of tasted success when I was really young in my 20s. We sold that business when I was 30 years old. So I'm like, all right, I tasted success once. Let's just replicate that. And it's a lot harder the second time around, at least for me. And so, we saw the opportunities to expand outside of the QuickBooks software space to work with other GL software, some mid-market companies where the revenue dollars were really big. And then generally, I think we did a pretty good job, but we just got overextended and became too hard to manage. And I think we went a little bit too far in the corporate direction of hiring people without accounting backgrounds who are not really client facing. So we got a little bit fat with middle management and we're not really getting a return on investment for all these new initiatives we were doing. So we kind of scaled
Mhm.
back to what we were when we started, which is really focused on small businesses that need good basic bookkeeping, and then they want to take it to the next level with good monthly financial reporting and performance metric scorecards to help them manage the business using financial information. And that's really what we're trying to do now for the most part. And so I'd say I should avoid the shiny opportunities that will distract you from what you're really good at. I'd probably say.
You know what I've been thinking a lot about lately is prioritization. So like there's so many different things I could try. And just for an example, we charge a flat monthly management fee. If you run X amount of dollars on one channel, it's whatever. Um, but I've been thinking about pay per lead model for certain industries, insurance, some loan officers, they don't have any qualms about paying per lead if it's qualified. So part of me is like, hey, do I want to try this style or keep with my monthly management? And I think there's a case that maybe you could do both. But like that is kind of the shiny object. But there takes the planning, the execution, the explanation, the tracking, and it takes me out of what my lane is, and it can distract and pull me back from what is quote unquote working. So that's kind of top of mind lately is like all these things that I could be doing now with AI. I could expedite a lot of things really quickly, but should I be focusing on that? Should I try to go in that direction or should I stay in my lane?
The other challenge I had was, I'd have all these ideas and I could keep them pretty perfectly straight in my mind. But when you've got to kind of have people in charge of different things, and it might be clear and simple in my mind, but in reality, it's kind of hard and complicated for the organization as a whole to actually go do and execute. It just became too complicated for the company, even though it seemed, simple enough in my head. People actually have to go do it.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to come back to something you said about partners and how you had partners on your first venture. Do you have partners now? And then do you work best with a partner or do you like this, like solo running the ship and then having executors?
I mean, I could go either way. My wife and I are business partners now, but she primarily manages the house and the family while I primarily manage the business. But we still talk about business a lot. But I don't, have like a partner who owns, other than Jenny, who owns a big chunk of the business, who's an official business partner. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but it's just, the, you know, just the right situation really hasn't come up to make that happen now. I mean, I did enjoy the first business. It was an IT services business, and one of my co-founders really managed the technology and the service delivery side. I managed the back office operations and finance, and my third partner, Nate, really managed marketing and sales. So we divided up the responsibility, and I didn't really have to worry too much about marketing and sales, which is good because I'm not very good at that. And the technology guy didn't really have to worry too much about accounting and, nuts and bolts back office operations. So it just worked out well. And if I did another business, some number of years in the future, I'd be certainly open to doing with a partner. It's tough to go it alone, but on the other hand, it's simpler, but you kind of maybe lose the benefit of, other other contributions. But I've got a great team now at SmartWorks though. We're not large enough that we really need multiple equity business partners, but certainly see the value to it.
Do you do the EOS method or anything like that?
Yeah, for a number of years we were more strict with EOS, and that was back when I kind of alluded to kind of a little more of a corporate approach. It kind of lent itself well to EOS. Then we reverted back to more of a traditional professional services approach where, we loosely do EOS. We have we have a monthly structured, not 100% level 10, but similar to a weekly level 10. We have, in theory, most people have quarterly conversations in the company. We have some annual objectives. We've tried light quarterly rocks. We use an OKR framework within 7 Geese, but we're not strict. We're not really strict about it. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of clients that use EOS. I think it's a great system. We also have others that use more of the OKR framework, where EOS is kind of binary. We found like either you accomplish something, you didn't. It's like 0 or 1. With OKRs, you kind of define the objective you're trying to accomplish, and then you set 3 or 4 different kind of metrics that reflect progress toward that objective. And, maybe you accomplish, 3 out of the 4 metrics, and that's a win, right? 3 out of 4, 75%, 100% is unrealistic. So that's a win. Whereas in EOS, that might be considered a loss because you didn't hit, the 100% objective. So yeah, I like those frameworks. They're very helpful.
Yeah. Just as my team is growing, it's just something I'm like keeping in the back of my mind and thinking about. And I'm actually kind of excited about, that side of growing a business, like working with the team, trying to achieve certain goals.
One of the initial things I liked about EOS when we implemented it, and we implemented it when we were probably, how many people? Probably about 10 people or so.
And you definitely had probably a management layer to get that core group in there, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, we had enough of a management layer to barely implement EOS. And one of the things I liked about it at the time was instead of having 3 different versions of the same conversation with 3 different people, we just have one version of that conversation with everybody in it once a week. And so it made the management communication a lot more efficient and aligned, I thought.
Are you recording internal meetings with any AI software?
We're a Google shop, so Gemini by default records meetings. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I use Fireflies, but I see that as being a real asset. So previously, when I worked with other people, we didn't have that. But now, if I work with my team, I can record everything, and if they need to go back or see the high level, like what do we really want to accomplish, I think that's going to be like put us like on a higher speed trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice not to have to, like, I still am in the habit of taking meeting notes. And you might have heard me typing a
Right.
little bit during this conversation. I'm an habitual note taker, but I'm slowly allowing Gemini to become my note taker.
Is that your kind of default AI engine? Is Gemini?
Well, it is because we're a Google shop. We're, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Docs, Slides, Sheets. We're all Google, all in Google Voice. So we're kind of all in, all Google. So by default, Gemini is just the most efficient. Although, like you, I played with Grok a lot. I was doing a little bit of coding development and, trying to figure out how to, come up with fixed pricing algorithms using underwriting data from live clients. And I was using Grok for that. It seemed like a little more powerful for coding and math than ChatGPT or some of the others, but my default is Gemini just because we're a Google shop and it's all integrated.
Can I ask you this? For your personal financial stuff, are you running anything through AI?
Per, you mean kind of tracking my income and expense and things like that?
Yeah, or you like throwing all your expenses in there and just saying, "Hey, what's the big picture? What's going on? What do you see?" I'm sure you know this already because this is your life. But like, are you utilizing AI to analyze and optimize your own personal financials?
So I run QuickBooks for my personal finances, at least my income and expense. I don't keep my full balance sheet there, but I have a separate spreadsheet that I track my balance sheet on, basically retirement investments and things like that, 529 plans for kids and stuff like that. So I'm in QuickBooks and I can run a P&L easily enough. And I don't know, 49 years old. My kids are 14, so we're pretty stable. Have been in the same house for 13 years. Things are pretty stable. I don't have a lot of changes going on right now. So I don't use AI. I don't ask AI to analyze my personal finances, but I do track them in a system.
Okay, I was just curious about that because I want to use AI to do all that, and then there's kind of privacy concerns, and my wife's kind of like looking at me sideways, like, "You want to put all that information in there to figure out our stuff?" So
Yeah, you don't want to use a free version. Maybe the paid version might protect your data a little bit better.
yeah, that's just something I'm thinking about because I have uploaded the P&L to one of the AIs and say like, "Hey, what's the big picture here? What happened in January that I'm not thinking about, or what did I miss?"
But it's got to really answer that question, it's got to get into the granular level of data, which you'd have in QuickBooks. Like, okay, your revenue dropped a lot from these three big clients, and that's why your January revenue dropped. It's got to like really dig into the underlying data to give you a meaningful answer, which is why I think a lot of these companies that started up over the last decade and raised all that VC money really struggled, and most of them went under because once Intuit decided it was gonna install AI within QuickBooks, like, it has the advantage. It has access to all the data. People are already logging to QuickBooks. They don't have to deal with another system. So I think, Intuit's it's very hard to compete with Intuit if your business model is contingent upon extracting data from QuickBooks and analyzing it and presenting it. Well, Intuit has the advantage because it owns all the data and it's a seamless interface for the user. So I just think it's hard to compete in the accounting space, at least for small businesses, with whatever Intuit is implementing directly within QuickBooks. And it's been pretty, I mean, the custom reporting and analytics historically you get from QuickBooks was really poor, pretty crappy. But lately, within the last year or so, the pace of innovation has really picked up a lot. So if I had a business that was built around custom reporting and analyzing data from QuickBooks, I'd try to find another business to get into that. Because anything into it might put me out of business.
We're going to see a lot of pivots here, I think, in the short term.
So outside of work, you still do a lot of running? Or what hobbies do you have?
Tried to get some sleep with these 4 and 2-year-olds. Bedtime is still crazy. But hey, if I get some time, I'm a live concert guy. Like I love seeing some jam bands. Humphrey McGee is really, really great live. They do some jam rock. But anytime we get some good shows in Pittsburgh, like a Metallica or something like that, I'm definitely trying to go. And then anytime I can see a Steelers game, I'm trying to get down there. Although that is a very hard sell with my family, saying to my wife, "Hey, the game is probably 4 hours, and then there's a tailgate, and then travel time, and thing will probably take about 6 hours total." And so that is a very hard sell. So if I can go to Steelers game or Pirates game, I'm happy.
Pittsburgh is a great sports city. Yeah.
And everything's close, except for the airport. But I live in the city, so like getting downtown or to the sports team game is only like 15 minutes. So like it's all doable.
Awesome. Well, keeping yourself busy with the family, with the business, with your phone.
Family man, this man. Yep.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. Had a wide ranging conversation, but appreciate everything you shared and all the different rabbit holes we went down. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate this, and thank you for your time.
So I know you like to partner with other agencies. So if folks want to reach out to you, just in general or with a partnership idea, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So that's great. So the website is hbtdigital.com. On socials, it's just HBT Digital Consulting.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, RJ. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll share this with my network too.
Great. So this has been another exciting episode of the Marketing Agency Power Hour. We'll see you all next time. Another episode in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in. For show notes and more, please visit marketingagencypowerhour.com. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, providing marketing agencies with bookkeeping, accounting, and finance support. With SmartBooks, you gain the clarity and confidence to make your agency a success. Until next time.